Today's video is a real treat. Cold sister's dreams and her mom's plans are a laugh, as Cold mom goes all out to get her into law school. Cold mom actually tells Cold sister to copy the professor's paper. The professor doesn't mind, but he's more concerned about Cold sister's character, and Cold mom pulls out her. She warned that if the old flame doesn't zip it, then her life might just be on the line. Old Jan felt a mix of emotions and blamed himself. If he hadn't flunked up back then, Cold mom wouldn't be so persistent. Cold sister said that even though it's a mess, they can try to clean it up and first get rid of Yang Zongsen's computer. Let's just pretend none of this ever happened. Old Jiang urged his daughter to confess but got interrupted, as Cold sister doesn't want to ruin her life. After his daughter left, Old Jiang went to the office instead of home, pondering one thing. How on earth did Yang Zongsen's computer mysteriously end up on his desk? Just then, as Old Jiang was thinking, a notification suddenly popped up on his screen, startling him. Just then, Old Jiang barged in. Old Jiang hurriedly covered his notebook and asked what he was doing there so late, while Old Jiang plopped down on the sofa. He started talking about Cold sister, complaining that the laptop was brand new and only had 2 reports about her, and yet somehow it vanished after Professor Zhu died. Old Jiang glanced over at the desk, sending a chill down Old Jiang's spine. He couldn't sleep a wink that night. After a night of heavy thinking, the next morning, he sent a message to Old Jiang confessing he had the notebook, and Old Jiang rushed into the office. Seeing Old Jiang pour coffee, he pulled out sugar, thinking to add strong stuff this time. At noon on the day of the incident, Old Jiang pushed open the lounge door, and Professor Zhu was already expecting him, bluntly stating that the business of hiring a wife couldn't just be brushed aside. Plagiarism isn't scary, but refusing to admit mistakes is. He thought Cold sister didn't have what it takes to be a judge. This completely infuriated Old Jiang, who bought professorship with bribe and judges his daughter. X's response dripped with sarcasm. No wonder Cold mom said marrying Old Jiang was the biggest mistake of her life. As soon as the words left his mouth, Old Jiang nearly fainted from anger, and just then, Professor X's phone rang. Old Jiang, furious, saw white powder on the table, tasted out of curiosity nut sugar. He recognized the smell from his time lecturing the drug squad. The next moment, his gaze fixed on the coffee cup on the table, and a wild idea popped in. Old Jiang was mulling over the vice dean's confession and felt something was off if Professor Zhu drank the whole pack of drugs at noon. There's no way he could have attended class in the afternoon. He explained that he left right after pouring the drugs, and perhaps Professor Zhu didn't drink it right away. By the break, he suddenly remembered that cup of coffee. Old Jiang thought carefully, wait, that cup of coffee was the one he had Professor Zhu drink. It turned out he was the culprit. Old Jiang declared he'd testify to clear the innocent, then asked how he cracked the computer password before leaving. Old Jiang thought for a moment and admitted he slipped some cash to a computer shop clerk, while Cold sister pulled up the school surveillance footage. The one who took his computer was a guy in black, and he was wearing a wedding ring. Were you scared by his expression back then? Why on earth did Shinkai take Cold sister's laptop? Let's not dwell on that for now. 3 days later, the trial of Professor Zhu officially began. Old Lady delivered his statement and demanded Old Jiang's detention, claiming he knew the law well and might destroy evidence. For example, the mysterious disappearance of the defendant's laptop, which is a key piece of evidence. Old Jiang stated that the laptop had been found, and if Prosecutor Liu believes this is key evidence, he is open to all of Li's demands. The judge dismissed Prosecutor Li's request, and over on the other side, Cold sister was taken to the hospital for a psychological evaluation, and as soon as she arrived, she received a message from Paul saying the vice dean had testified. On hearing this news, Cold sister gasped. If the plagiarism was exposed, she'd probably get expelled from school. In a panic, she snatched her mom's car keys and sped to the courthouse, but her phone suddenly rang. Upon answering, her father's voice came through. Old Jiang admitted in court. He had previously lied to the police. There was a bag of sugar at the crime scene, just like the defendant said. I'm the owner of that candy bag. The car parked in front of the courthouse and Cold sister rushes in. The lawyer in court asked Old Jiang why he lied, and Old Jiang confessed. He heard that Professor Yang Zongsen would be suspected as the culprit, an idea which Cold sister had anticipated even before her arrival. The judge inquired, and Old Jiang claimed a wrong dial, as Little Pio asked questions. He asked Old Jiang if he was the true culprit behind Professor X's murder, and Cold sister suddenly burst into the courtroom. Interrupting the ongoing trial, the father and daughter finally had a candid moment, and Cold sister complained that if he had just asked more questions. Old Jiang, did you kill anyone? They wouldn't have gotten to this point. She did wish Professor Zhu would disappear, but she didn't kill him. Her father shouldn't have to admit to something he didn't do for her sake, and after the retrial, Liu asked for the witness to be replaced, claiming old Jiang's behavior had crossed into perjury. Little Pio objected, noting if old Jiang's testimony was dismissed, the candy packaging from the crime scene would vanish, leaving a bad impression on the jury. Old Yang looked unfazed, more concerned about who the real culprit was. After the first trial ended, Cold's sister expressed her gratitude. If it hadn't been for that phone call in court, her father could have been charged with perjury. Old Yang then brought up the issue of the paper, asking why Professor Zhu had approached her multiple times, yet Cold's sister wouldn't admit her mistake. Cold's sister opened up for the first time, feeling like an ignored flower destined to please.